By Monday morning their resolve broken, they had shut down their office. "And we're not working out of safety concerns," said Volodymyr Klotsky, a member of Election Commission No. 43, adding that he and his colleagues had reluctantly taken the decision after terrorists had seized the offices of another voting commission nearby. And Klotsky's commission had been the last of 5 such election bodies opened up in the eastern Ukrainian city, an industrial hub of about 1 million, which is now the center of the self-declared Donetsk People's Republic. And the separatists' revolt, fueled by heady Russian propaganda, was focused at several points in the east following the overthrow of the Moscow-backed President Viktor Yanukovich and the annexation by Russia of Crimea. And nonetheless, electoral authorities had set up Klotsky and others like him to do their best to prepare for an election that Kiev's pro-Western rulers hope will legitimize government after the street revolt that forced Yanukovych to flee to Russia. And with most of Donetsk's strategic points in separatist hands, this had always been a distant hope in this part of Ukraine. The predicament of Klotsky and his colleagues is further evidence of the separatists' determination to disrupt the election. And speaking on Sunday before the decision to shut up shop, Klotsky said unknown men had appeared in his office twice in the past 2 weeks, stealing computers and threatening staff if they did not leave. "And we fear only one thing," Klotsky said then. "And it is the interference of these people, who have grabbed the region by force, who have placed checkpoints around the city to protect it from something. We are worried that either tomorrow, either now, either on election day, they will come and stop our work physically," he said. And later on Monday Klotsky was out of reach at a police station. It was not clear why. "And we have information on a number of presidents, vice presidents of electoral commissions being abducted, being maltreated, with implications for a number of other members of the commissions," Ivan Simonovic, UN Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights, said in Kiev in an interview with Reuters on Monday. "And there is intimidation," he said. "A lot of people in eastern Ukraine are preparing to leave, not only because of security but because of their social and economic prospects. It may be a big exodus, and it's going to be a major challenge." And Kiev authorities were adamant the election would go ahead despite the difficulties. "And we realize and are not deceiving anyone about this, that it will be impossible to hold normal elections over the huge territory of Donetsk and Luhansk regions," Interior Minister Arsen Avakov said on Monday, referring also to the neighboring region of Luhansk where separatists also occupy key buildings. And Avakov accused separatists of carrying out bandit actions aimed at disrupting the election. But elections will take place in Ukraine all the same, despite the wishes of the terrorists to prevent them, even if they are disrupted over several parts of Donetsk and Luhansk regions, Avakov told a news conference. "And valid vote in Donetsk region, as opposed to the city, accounts for an electorate of 3.3 million, just over 9% of the national voter base of 35.5 million. With Luhansk the two regions account for 14.3%. And other flashpoints where polling booths could be disrupted include the towns of Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, which have seen some of the worst clashes between separatists and the Ukrainian army. And current opinion polls make confectionery magnate Petro Poroshenko a comfortable front-runner, well ahead of second-placed former Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko. One poll indicates Poroshenko might even get more than 50% and so be elected in the first round. And a separatist campaign to stop large-scale voting in large areas of the East will damage candidates whose strongest support is there, namely, Mikhailo Dobkin, a 45-year-old businessman who was once close to the ousted Yanukovych, and Serhiy Djibko, a banker and businessman who performed strongly in the last presidential campaign in 2009-10. And both have sought to tap into this support by accusing the Kiev authorities of clumsy handling of the crisis and failing to address legitimate grievances of the local population, in particular Russian language rights. And Djibko acknowledged that the separatist action was likely to hurt him at the ballot box. And I will in any situation recognize the result of the elections because Ukraine needs a legitimate president, otherwise we will continue with chaos, he told Reuters in an interview in Kiev. An election, a joke, and Klotsky's electoral commission covers around 150,000 voters in the city and 99 polling stations which are usually installed in schools. With their work incomplete, it is unlikely the vote there will be recognized as valid. And the Commission's office is just 10 minutes' drive from central Donetsk, where separatists hold a huge Soviet-era district administration building, barricaded and guarded by armed men in a variety of army fatigues and black masks. And for them and their supporters in Donetsk, the election is irrelevant. And this election is a joke, said a 27-year-old junior leader of separatists, whose team guards an entrance to the district administration building. He gives only his code name, Naruto, which is the name of the hero of an eponymous Japanese manga comic book. And Naruto feels that his political choices have been constantly ignored or overturned by Kiev and Ukrainian politicians and protesters from the mainly Ukrainian-speaking west of Ukraine. And the rules of the game change. It makes no sense for me to vote. When I win an election, they say it was a bad election. When I lose an election, they say it's a good election, he said. And I'm not some crazy ex-military guy. On the Maidan, Kiev's Independence Square, they say we are animals, we don't know about freedom. But I know how people live here. I am fighting for human rights. And Naruto, friendly and relaxed, with a wide smile, doesn't fit the separatist stereotype. A graduate and electrical engineer, he has worked for Western companies and has also traveled widely in the region and seen its poverty. And recounting the complicated history of Ukraine from the past 100 years, he nevertheless reflected Moscow's playbook that the new government in Kiev is filled with neo-Nazis whose ancestors fought for independence from Polish and Soviet rule and collaborated with Germany during World War II. And there are people in Western Ukraine who are Nazis, really Nazis. But they have ways of masking it, he said. I think that we're fighting Nazism. We're the first line of defense against fascism in the world. I'm not fighting for the Russians, I'm fighting against Nazis. And between the barricades and armed, masked men of the administration building and the electoral commission, life in the city is surreally normal. Enjoying 30-degree sunshine for the past 3 days, families stroll along leafy avenues and children play in fountains. And along the roadside, billboards show posters for presidential candidates including the Western-leaning Poroshenko. Political adverts of all hues are aired on the radio. And on Sunday, a modest rally in favor of the separatists took place with several hundred people gathered at Lenin Square in the center of town. For some, the election was the last thing on their minds. Their focus was rather on how the new Donetsk National Republic will move from here. And life is going to be worse now, we understand that perfectly. Our status will not be defined well, we understand. But we just have to live through this. And after that the future will be brighter, said Anna, a middle-aged accountant at a private firm. And additional reporting by Gareth Jones, Natalia Zenitz and Gabriela Bachinska in Kiev, writing by Richard Balmforth, editing by Will Waterman.